Domoro kadiate
boy janno sikes restaurant
e sai nakko be ninna dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendil lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international otoda number 1
amanke ba domo la jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandin
oto sa nakko be mu CK's restaurant
ndafa na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
Don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products.
Are you thinking of of owning your dream homes, EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 2259220, or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments. We are first in.
Hello? How is it? Hello, mic test, mic test. Hello, hello. Hello, mic test. Hello, mic test. Hello.
Hello.
Kema fulani sila muna. Tulo banta le mano banta. Pari man sini sio ni mano banta sa fonje. Kilo le bota. Salam alaikum. Wa alaikum salam ba. Bare. Ah, kodo kiyena ne yuna yamo. Minto yuna. Mansara. Itu nada. Yaja. Ngamano sammanang ngatulo samman.
Na nyimano dia ko.
Yalo nyimano wara deme. Jona biro ngayin tawlet. Ngata ko do kama deme. Man façon fula wala beje. Kilo talul tabeje, kilo monni lul tabeje. Hani duuli no beje. Ni tale ko do kama. Ni lefta ko do les ko do ta inaita. Na dia defone si manul sanjalin tulol ni hani nyin fongonye alkame to abul kame fo kan dirin klebe ni leminato. Ngabo ndije. Itulaka nyunu be samana. Yaje.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm in London that can help you with all aspects of your legal work. If you are looking at immigrating to the United Kingdom, Stewart & Co. can help you to set up business, buy houses in the UK, and will deal with all your legal works from start to finish.
For all your general immigration work, we can help you with that as well. If you apply for any form of visa, whether student visas, settlement visas, marriage visas, or a child wanting to come to the United Kingdom to settle with the family, we can help you to achieve your goals.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm specializing in conveyancing, immigration, litigation, family law, personal injury, licensing.
Welcome back from the lunch break, everyone. Council, are we ready to continue? If we are, please get the witness.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We are ready to proceed. Please bring in the witness.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back, Professor Saine.
Thank you.
Before the lunch break, you took us through the background and methodology used in your report. You also answered some of the questions that we have provided. You've gone up to question 3, which is to explain how former President Jammeh evolved from a low-ranking military ruler to a deified dictator presiding over a regime marked by allegations of widespread violations and abuses. And you explained the worldview of Yahya Jammeh and what made him tick, and how he evolved to really become a dictator. I want us to move the discussion forward and talk about a bit about his upbringing and how that had contributed to him being what he eventually became, especially starting with his days in Kanilai and growing up in the urban area, and how all that contributed in making him what he ultimately become. For the purposes of the report, you have gone as far as paragraph 50.
Paragraph 50?
Yes.
Okay.
That is page 19. Okay. But what I found interesting is this question that you raised in paragraph 49, wherein you said that some people seem to think that Jammeh lacks the cultural comportment of a true Gambian.
Yes.
And your response to that is quite interesting. Can you take it from there?
Well, thank you, Counsel. Jammeh has been, to some degree, deified, but also vilified. And by that I mean that people say he's not Gambian. He doesn't have the temperament of a Gambian. He does things that are unbecoming of Gambians. And what I'm basically suggesting is that Gambia and Jammeh in particular, and the character that we assume to be Gambian, are very much intertwined. And in this part of the report, what I wanted to do was to disabuse readers of the notion that, well, Kiboko Union, he is of another mentality, but he has been cut from the same sinew, from the same cloth. He went through the same experiences that most Gambians would typically go through. And as a result, I believe many Gambians, if they were to be put in Jammeh's position, given his training, his background, his ideology, his operational code, not all, but some would behave in a similar manner. And we have seen instances of that. I might probably just read the first 49.
Go ahead.
If that's okay?
Go ahead.
Basically, to delve deeper into them, I basically delve into political psychology to explore Jammeh's operational code, in codes. However, before doing so, it is important that Gambians in general be disabused of the belief that Yahya Jammeh was not a Gambian, implying he lacked the cultural comportment and empathy Gambians are believed to possess. Contrary to the popular notion that Yahya Jammeh was not one of us, that is, if he were Gambian, he would not be capable of allegedly committing horrific crimes against other Gambians. I contend that Jammeh is as Gambian as they come. He is quintessentially Gambian and exemplified the best and the worst of Gambia's national attributes and cultural heritage and baggage. In sum, he is one of us, and he's no different from many people.
Why do you say so? What is your basis? I think that is captured from paragraph 50 onwards.
Yes.
You tried to dissect some of the personal idiosyncrasies of Jammeh. Could you take us through that?
Okay. Following the 1994 coup, Jammeh and his conspirators held out the promise of a reformer dedicated to addressing social and economic ills in society. By the end of his first year in office, however, troubling and destructive tendencies emerged that linked him to other dictators in the continent and elsewhere. His quest for absolute power, propelled by greed, jealousy, self-delusion, self-aggrandizement, surfaced to the top of his grandiose political agenda. Thus, Yahya Jammeh is the embodiment of the best and the worst of Gambian culture, shaped as he was by a cultural, social, religious, and ideological environment within which he, like most Gambians, grew up under. I will discuss this later, as I say, when I talk about Alaji Kani, Sana Bairo Sabali, and so forth and so on.
You have used in this paragraph interesting adjectives or phrases that describe Yahya Jammeh. Quest for absolute power, greed, jealousy, self-delusion, and self-aggrandizement. Can we find all these in Yahya Jammeh?
I believe so. I believe they are all interrelated. And maybe I'm talking about the same thing in different ways.
Well, I just want to think that if all these were to be found in one human being, that person would become something else, uncontrollable.
Well, I think Jammeh was uncontrollable.
An animal.
I believe he exhibited a lot of these tendencies. I believe truly that Jammeh exemplified all these tendencies, I mean, self-aggrandizement.
Is that why you suggested that similar characteristics can be seen in others with Jammeh, like Sana Sabali, who presided over a reign of terror that included the calculated and cold-blooded executions of military officers on November 10 and 11.
Yes.
That was just a quote from the report.
From the text, yes.
And you went on to say that Sabali's testimony was chilling, as it highlighted how military officers accused of staging a coup on November 10 and 11 were systematically and brutally executed.
Yes.
So these are all characteristics.
These are all characteristics that might come also from their training, or more importantly, from their own psychological makeup. And maybe they exemplify the most extreme cases. But I think these are tendencies that you find in people like Jammeh and Sabali. I think we also embody, we also harbor some of those elements in ourselves. And if we were to find ourselves in similar situations, some of us may exhibit similar tendencies. But for the majority of the population, these tendencies tend to lie dormant.
Thank you.
Yes.
In paragraph 51, you went on to explain how a convergence of different things helps shape the operational code of Jammeh, as it were. I guess you'd be in a better position to explain it.
Yes.
You talk about his formative years and in Jola settings, and how he later changed into. Could you tell us more about paragraph 51, please?
Paragraph 51 was intended primarily to give a composite picture of who Yahya Jammeh really is. He is the byproduct of African cultures, Jola, and other ethnic groups that inhabited his village. He also was exposed to Christianity and Islam. He also, after coming to Banjul and finding himself in a larger political and cultural milieu, felt in many ways marginalized. I believe this created some resentment, among other things. And I think I believe he really was traumatized by his marginality. Am I going to?
No. I just want to shift the discussion briefly to various aspects of Jammeh's life.
Okay.
He straddled between reggae music, Bob Marley,
yes,
and typical Jola music, Futampaf.
Yes.
He would carry a Quran, and people would say he would also do Jalang. How can you explain all this?
Well,
this admixture.
It is apparently very contradictory. I think one way of explaining Jammeh is looking at his actions and his utterances within a context. Jammeh could be quoting from the Quran, he could be doing sacrifices, he could also be talking about human rights from a Western perspective. He could also be talking about human rights from an Islamic perspective. It would depend on the audience he is catering to or he is pandering to, and what purpose it serves for him.
In fact, in paragraph 52, you said as follows. It is these overlapping, interconnected, concentric impulses that at times were complementary and at other times contradictory that swirled in his young mind.
Absolutely.
Confusion or deliberate?
I think he was confused in some ways. But at the end of the day, I believe Yahya Jammeh used, for the most part, those elements to serve his overall interests. Sometimes they're overarching, sometimes he would emphasize one at the expense of the other, but they really provide the corpus of his mentality.
Just a little while ago, before I interrupted you, you talked about growing up in Banjul or environs, and he adopted Ndongo culture pretty much, which is different from Bandi, by the way.
Yes.
Ndongo culture meaning streetwise, Nyayele as they would call it in Mandinka.
Yes.
How, and the grievances that he developed during those early years, how has that impacted on his life in the army? How he acclimated to the military and the resultant effect. I am referring specifically to paragraphs 53, 54
okay.
of page 20,
Okay.
and the subsequent paragraphs in page 21.
I think Jammeh's move to the urban area, in Banjul in particular, and attending Gambia High, exposed his insecurities further. He became very vulnerable and increasingly vented out against what he perceived as inequities within society. He wasn't privileged. He didn't get the rights. He was really living with somebody who basically took care of him. So he was of a class and of an ethnic minority that for the most part didn't get a fair shake. These were grievances, I believe, that he took to the military. And the military was a very easy conduit, a place where he could express, or at least harbor them at some point, and expressing them much later by the way of a coup d'etat.
In paragraph 54, specifically page 21,
yes,
starting from the middle of the first line,
okay.
Starting with the sentence, the world from his vantage point. Could you read that, the rest of that paragraph?
Okay.
Please?
The world from his vantage point was grim, unfair, and unjust. The rich took advantage of the poor, and his socially marginalized Jola ethnic group enjoyed fewer opportunities for social mobility in the army, civil service, and the larger society. Yaya's social construction of the world was that of a dog-eat-dog world, where you had to act fast and decisively to outsmart the enemy. These dim views blended well, generally, with his negative traditional Muslim Christian beliefs and were reinforced by his military training and organizational military culture. In sum, Yahya was or is a political realist.
You went on to examine some of the influences that Yahya has had, especially so-called revolutionaries in Africa. Could you tell us about that, in particular paragraph 56?
I believe Yahya was not only influenced by his training overseas. I'm sure he interacted with professors and students and debated them on one thing or the other about military strategy and operational activity. But I think he also was very much influenced or emulated people like Idi Amin, Mobutu Sese Seko, Sana Abacha. They served as a model of a strong leader, of a military leader who could take over a country and rule it as he wished, vanquishing anybody who stood in his way. So these were some of the influences that shaped Jammeh. Rawlings, in particular, I believe, was fundamental in shaping his worldview and the transition period. You mentioned the article I did between Gambia, comparing Gambia and Ghana and their transitions to democracy. Gambia's transition to democracy under Jammeh was a carbon copy of Ghana's. In fact, the rhetoric of Jammeh was very much that of Rawlings. And he influenced him very, very much. In fact, it wasn't a surprise that during the first anniversary following the coup, Chairman Rawlings was the guest of honor.
And the first mission outside the country carried out by the AFPRC
was to Ghana.
Was to Ghana.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's not surprising. So you concluded in paragraph 57
yes.
to tell us what you think of this mix.
Yes.
That this cocktail that constituted Yahya Jammeh. Could you read that paragraph, please?
My pleasure. In sum, Yahya Jammeh, the dictator, has a cognitive map that is the byproduct of his African Jola heritage, religious upbringing, education, which means Islamic, Christian, and religious and other things, in his village, and certainly in Banjul. To this must be added his initial training in the army, officer training overseas, and his exposure to various intellectual and professional currents. Being a child of several worlds like most Gambians, he had enough imagination to dip from one tradition to another, or one of these traditions and their combinations, to form his operational code. These would have been the prisms through which he analyzed situations and challenges important for policy decisions. To some degree, this may explain what appeared to most of his contradictory and often confusing behavior. While professing to be a good Muslim, Jammeh is known to have taken mind-altering drugs, engaged in cruelty and debauchery, all while consuming or consulting a pantheon of gods, praying to Allah, to Jesus, and engaged in alleged human sacrifices.
Serious contradictions.
Yes.
Paragraphs 58 and also 59
yes.
are quite significant. I'd suggest that you just read them.
Read them again, okay.
Yeah.
He was also a deeply suspicious, cynical, and narcissistic individual who, in the latter days of his misrule, exhibited all the pathologies of a leader gone mad. Power drunk, Jammeh felt he owned the country and all that resided in it. It was his country, and no one dared tell him how to run it. Oddly, Jammeh was also a bright and socially competent Gambian person who had a sense of humor and could dance to Bob Marley tunes and gyrate to the music of Jaliba Kuyate and Youssou N'Dour. And in his quest, or in his quiet moments, may have even contemplated the moral and ethical implications of his deadly actions. This is where it would appear he exhibited a serious case of cognitive dissonance.
And you concluded?
In sum, Jammeh is a political animal who understood his soldiers and human nature. He also comprehended the general worldview of most Gambians, which he used, abused, and manipulated to expose the shady tendencies in them. He knew and used his advantage. He knew and used to his advantage ills of the so-called Gambian personality: greed, lust for power, pride, competitive streak to outdo one another, socially and economically. Many elite servants or civil servants who danced to his tune ended disgraced, rehired, and forever silenced and discredited. Jammeh knew and understood well their weaknesses and hunger for power, and he ensnared them, or this part of them, or their personalities, to serve his perverse mission to control and dominate Gambian politics or the Gambian landscape. Predictably, many, too, would have acted like Jammeh if placed in a similar situation.
Thank you for that. We've discussed the Stockholm Syndrome earlier, and many people definitely exhibited such tendencies.
Yes.
We now move on to the fourth question that you were asked to look into. That is, provide a general overview of the nature, extent, system, and pattern of alleged abuses and violations of human rights that were characteristic of the Jammeh regime. And this should include an overview of the experiences of different social groups, including women and children. I note that when you looked at this, you looked at it in terms of the various generation of rights to which Gambia is a party. So could you help take us through that?
Well, over the last decades, since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, there have been, over time, a generation of rights or baskets of rights that have been put into action. Of course, clearly one of the most important are the conventions for political and civil rights, which gives emphasis to individual freedoms of expression, assembly, religion, and so forth and so on. There was also another convention on social and economic rights that basically emphasized, among other things, the right to health, education, food, shelter, and so forth and so on. Now, you will recall that this was in the context of the Cold War, when there was competition between the Soviet Union and the United States. The United States and most Western countries tended to prioritize or privilege political and civil rights as opposed to social and economic rights. And it was in this context that I tried to situate that answer. Now, later on, there were other rights, cultural rights, CEDAW, which is the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Violence Against Women. These are all baskets of rights.
Discrimination against women.
Against women, yes. And children's rights and so forth and so on. What I'm basically suggesting is, in order to understand the kind of rights abuses, it may be important to locate those abuses within the context of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and looking at those baskets or generations of rights and how they were violated systematically under Jammeh. One of the things that I also suggest is that